from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. It is Tuesday, 28th January 2025, and we're coming to you live from the Port Mall here in downtown Scarborough, Tobago. I am Adana Kumbi. This is the day that the Lord has made, and we will all rejoice and be glad in it. Aren't you happy that you are alive today? Aren't you happy that you can rise up and see the sunrise? Aren't you happy that you can breathe in the fresh morning air? That is because of the Lord God Almighty. So let's remember to give Him thanks in all that we do. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we bring conversations to you about things happening in and around the Tobago. We are so happy that you're a part of the Tobago Updates television family, and we do hope that you can continue to stay with us throughout the entire program and each and every time we bring these conversations to you. But before we get into all of that this morning, we head on over to the news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Adana. Here is your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, January 28, 2025. Chief Secretary Farley Augustine criticized the dilapidated state of Tobago's Coast Guard base, describing it unfit for security personnel. Augustine called for urgent government action to modernize Tobago's security infrastructure, including equipment, facilities, and technology. He also highlighted resources shortage, recounting an incident where the Coast Guard lacked a boat for critical operation. He emphasized his administration's commitment to improving security despite jurisdictional challenges, prioritizing funding for national security to combat crime and address Tobago's unacceptable murder rate, while urging bold and immediate reforms. Up next, Minority Leader Kelvon Morris has called for Secretary in the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, Tasha Boris, to resign, accusing her of being dishonest about providing the name of the private promoter involved in the $9.3 million Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival. Boris claims she submitted the information promptly, but Morris stated no records exist. He criticized the secrecy around the promoter's identity and questioned the transparency of the festival's organization. The Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transport and Tobago Festivals Commission defended Boris, labeling media reports inaccurate, but Morris demanded clarity on the promoter's role and funding. And finally, Caribbean Airlines has announced that an emergency landing was declared for flight BW1541 traveling from Tobago to Trinidad yesterday. The ATR 72-600 aircraft landed safely at Piaco International Airport, and all necessary operational protocols were being followed for passengers and the crew. The aircraft will be removed from service to undergo inspection. And that was your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Brianna, for our news there in 90 seconds. And of course, your last story there talking about that landing, that emergency landing. Sometimes we do take things for granted. When we board an aircraft, for instance, sometimes when the instructions are being read, we think, well, we've heard this before time and time again. And so,
times, yes.
you might be playing a game on your phone or doing whatever, attending to your own business while the attendants are going through the instructions with you. And there you see them having to put them into practice. It must have been frightening, just thinking that, listen, I'm airborne,
yes,
and the only way from here is down.
Yes.
I don't know how high up they were, but I mean, just the thought of it, and hearing the command to brace, we really have to, stay prayed up. We really have to thank God that nothing, happened.
Major happened. Yes.
That's right, and that they are all safe and sound.
Yes.
And of course, kudos to the captain and crew of that flight for keeping the passengers safe and also for keeping their composure as well. I know it takes a lot,
Yes.
It does take a lot, and so I'm just happy to hear that everybody is okay, safe and doing quite well.
Yes.
Biana, what's your day looking like today?
Today, probably maybe a slow one, not sure what's in store.
All right. Whatever you do, remember to stay consistent.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and bringing that news in 90 seconds.
But before we go, Adana, persons who probably may have spare time or time on their hand for the rest of the week, I'm seeing that the Division of Food Security and Natural Resources are asking for persons to volunteer with the assistance of removing the giant African snail. So, probably persons could, tap into that, and they are giving a hotline number that persons can call, which is 482-7528, if you wish to offer your service to eradicate this pest.
That's right. That's right. That is welcomed, of course. If you are available, please join with that. It has become a situation where we all have to put all hands on deck. So if you can't tap in, you could also contact them on their Facebook page to get more information and stuff like that. Thank you so much, Biana. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the morning where we celebrate with those who are celebrating. It's time for our birthday shout-outs. And first up this morning and celebrating a birthday, it is Jeffrey Williams. Jeffrey Williams is celebrating a birthday today, and we want to say happy birthday to you, Jeffrey. We want to pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have a wonderful birthday today. So happy birthday to you. From the Tobago Updates television family. On screen is Nadine Stewart Phillips. Nadine Stewart Phillips is saying, we're saying happy birthday to you. We pray God's blessings upon your life as you enter this new phase, this new season of your life. We say happy birthday to you, and we do hope that you enjoy all that comes with celebrating a birthday. And finally, bringing in the birthday roundup for this morning is Marissa Leslie. Marissa Leslie is also celebrating a birthday today. And Marissa, we pray God's blessings upon your life. We pray that you continue to smile as you are in that photo there. And we do hope that you get to enjoy all the things that come with celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday to you as well. And of course, if you are celebrating a birthday, if you are celebrating an anniversary, a promotion, a retirement, a baby dedication, whatever you are celebrating, the Tobago Updates family joins in the celebration with you, and we remind you to put God first and to include Him, because He is the sole reason why there is anything for you to celebrate at all. So do not forget to include God in your plans. Who are we speaking with this morning in studio, might you ask? Well, I can tell you we start off conversations, as you're aware, on GMT, which is the program that comes on after the morning show. We've been doing a series called Beneath the Surface. This morning, we have one of those guests on the morning show this morning. We're speaking with Assemblyman Wayne Clark, Assistant Secretary in the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, and Area Representative for Lambo Lowlands. We're talking about his year 3. Let's see what's happening there with Mr. Assemblyman Wayne Clark this morning. Then we speak with Valentine McKenzie, committee member and Thora Best, special advisor to Tuco Junior Calypso Committee, and we're talking about Bacchanal Calypso tent and Junior Roving tent. As you know, we are in the carnival season, so we'll be hearing lots about the culture, the arts, and all that encompass the carnival season. And we wrap things up by speaking with Wilfred Fullerton, program manager and project execution, the project execution unit in the Ministry of Public Utilities. We're speaking about Goldsboro Water Treatment Plant. Don't we want to know about that? Of course, we're definitely going to have those conversations this morning, and we do hope that you could stay with us. So whether you're viewing on our Facebook live stream, we welcome you. On our YouTube channel, we welcome you. On AMPLIA 102 or on Flow, we say welcome to one and all. And up next, of course, we have Assemblyman Wayne Clark, who is in studio and ready to have the conversation with us this morning. So whether you're viewing right here in Tobago, in Trinidad, the Caribbean region, whether you are viewing from Africa, Asia, Australia, wherever you are this morning, we say welcome, and of course we invite you to help us share the live. We'll be right back.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood. or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We begin conversations this morning in studio, and as you are aware, as I mentioned earlier, that we are continuing the series of Beneath the Surface, where we engage with the Assemblyman, the executive of the Tobago House of Assembly, after 3 years of being in office, of course, talking about their projects, their initiatives, and their life in politics. And this morning in studio with me, I have Assemblyman Wayne Clark. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Tobago. Good morning to the worldwide listening audience.
That's right. We do have a worldwide listening audience, and of course we want to say welcome to all of you, and we hope that you can be a part of this conversation. Mr. Clark, you are not a man whose name is heard a lot in the media, especially as a man in politics, but I do know that you are as we are all aware, you are the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport. There, of course, being a kind of community type man and operating, I know your operations, especially in Lambo, with young people in the sports and football and stuff like that. But I want to get into who Wayne Clark really is. Who is this man, Wayne Clark, who is the area representative for Lambo Lowlands and also the Assistant Secretary for Community Development, Youth Development and Sport?
Well, that could be wrapped up in just a few easy words. Just the present servant striving to be a better servant.
All right. The present servant striving to be a better servant. What was it like for you? We're in year 3, coming into politics and serving in this capacity with the demands that are on you as both an area representative and an assistant secretary in a division with responsibility for meeting the needs of the people who are expecting you to do things above and beyond what they can do for themselves. What was it like for you, especially in this third year that we are in and heading into the final year, heading into year 4, when I say the final year of this period? What has it been like for you so far?
Well, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing that you didn't expect, nothing that, people would always have needs sometime. You're not sure if it's needs or wants, but people would always have their desires. And you as the sitting person, there's a lot of expectation on you, but even with the expectation, you got to continue being realistic. You got to continue being truthful to the people, and you got to let them know that sometimes not now is also an answer, or it can't be done now.
Right. And talking about not now or it can't be done now, what are some of the things that you have delivered and that you can stand on and be proud and say, listen, in my time, I know we had this particular issue. And so we talked about it, we worked on it, and here we are bringing resolve to some of these issues that were mentioned, whether it's from your area representative, your constituency, or from as being the assistant secretary in the Division of Community Development.
I guess the list might be too long to mention because, you know, sometimes a good book said, work is plenty, but the laborers are few. And from the area representative perspective, you come into a situation where Lambo Lowlands, it's not just Lambo Lowlands, it also entails Canby, a part of Signal Hill, and Canaan. Boundary is actually at Bonaccord School on the left. But community-wise, the main thing we have as a problem is the drainage and flooding and all that. It's just a whole heap. And we try, as area representative, you try to be there with and for the people. Try to be honest with them. Sometimes you tell them, well, I hear you, I understand the need, but this cannot be addressed immediately as we speak, as you will like it to. But I think we have made significant strides in terms of the community centers. We got into office, Lowland Center was, shut down for a while. And we were able to reopen that center late last year. That's one of the things. We are even looking into the possibility right now in Lowlands there's a little piece of property behind the center that we're going to try to develop for the residents to actually play. It wouldn't be a full-size playing field, but we're actually in talks with WASA so that we could get together with them, because some of the lands belong to WASA, that we could have a fair-sized playing field that WASA also has a sports club, so they could use it, so a sort of partnership. In the Lambo area, we have a lot of situations where the main thing for this term, I think, would be the situation with the oil spill. That was a whole mountain of trouble, bigger than you could ever think. But I think the press conference that the chief secretary, myself and the other people in the oil spill committee and so did last week would have shed a lot of light on that. And I think the fishermen themselves are actually understanding for what it is now. Other than that, I stay connected with the schools in the district. I work with them because even before I got into politics, I used to volunteer at those schools. So that didn't change. It wouldn't be at the same level because time is of the factor now, but we stay in communication and try to render as much support as possible. And, you just sort of stay with the community, even though you cannot do everything because you could never give everything that is requested of you. But you could be there and let them know that, I'm here with you. This is not possible now. We're going to work on this. We're going to try to see how close we could get to deliver in some of the instances, but being truthful, it's never all that you could deliver.
I know that there are challenges and there are things that will restrict and limitations based on resources and including time. And I know you've mentioned that you have had to tell your constituents, like, this cannot happen now, but there's a time that it would happen. What are some of the things you were able, outside of the community center in Lowlands, you were able to actually deliver and say, okay, there we are, we had this issue, and now we've resolved this and we have this now?
Well, outside of functioning, I should say, like in the office as the area representative, I think one of my biggest accomplishments is that I have a volunteer group. It may sound strange, but I have a volunteer group that we out in the community every week, every Sunday morning, where people give off their time, and we go out there and do the things that, because the government could never do everything. We go out there, we clean the streets, we do the work by the bins, we do the work in, clear some drains, clean the streets, clean up around the churches, and we just out in the community doing the things that, because the government could never do everything. We try to fit in that aspect. As the area representative, I continue to work with the youth groups, the sporting groups, and just be there because there's a lot of problems where the groups are concerned in the community. And you look at crime, you look at all the ills of society, and sometimes some of these problems, money can't fix them. You being there is a closer fix than the money will do sometimes.
And you started going into my next area of question in terms of dealing with sporting facilities, sporting groups. At your capacity as Assistant Secretary in that division, Community Development, Youth Development and Sport, what are some of the sporting support that you've given in terms of whether it is facilities, upgrading facilities, enhancing facilities, or support to sporting groups that might have to travel outside of Tobago or represent Tobago, providing them with any type of aid? What were you able to deliver in those areas?
Okay, so presently now we have 4 teams from Tobago that are going to participate. The competition actually started. We're going to participate in the professional league, the Tier 1 and Tier 2. That's Phoenix, Mount Pleasant, Speyside, and Bethel. We were successful in approving. They will start having their monies. Phoenix will start this week, and the others will follow. But we would have approved over close to $1 million for the next 2 years with these teams. Phoenix is going to have receive $200,000, and those in the lower tier will receive $100,000 per year for the next 2 years. Right? We look at athletics. We look at football. Football, like ladies football, we continue to support the ladies who have to travel to Trinidad ever so often for national training. Some of the other groups continue to try to help them or let them understand that there's a process, right? Sometimes people are a little anxious, they come to you, they forget the process that has to be followed. When you get selected on a national team, the national body usually takes over. Leading up to that, going to trials, the Tobago House of Assembly takes charge of that. So they pay your airfare, and the other things could be negotiated, but they get you to training and back. But there's a process that the athletes have to have a letter from the organization stating that you were selected to go on trials, and bringing that to the Tobago House of Assembly, they take over from there. It's not always smooth because sometimes people don't have you start traveling, you ask them about this, you got to have something from the body to come to the assembly to get the funding. And, they tell you sometimes, well, we didn't know, or we didn't get it yet, or we have to hold on. But the same people who are very up to date with you to get that money, sometimes I think they forget that you also have to account for that money, and the process has to be followed. But we continue to try to be there for the athletes, to try to support them as much as possible. Even the younger ones with the Carifta Games, we had this initiative that, since I came into office, and it's one of the proud things that we do, that wherever the Carifta Games is, once it's out of the country, we support to the tune of actually taking a parent from each child from Tobago that make the team to the games. We did it in Jamaica, Bahamas, and Grenada last year.
All right. And we want to talk a little bit now about facilities, upgrades, maintenance, repairs. What are some of the facilities you were able to deliver, or at least to start work on in this period?
We actually, the Black Rock Beach facility will always stand out as the flagship of this term where the Division of Sport is concerned. That's where we hosted the certain aspects of the Commonwealth Games, the beach volleyball. We also had beach football playing thereafter. As a matter of fact, right now, there's a request in and which will be permitted. The national team is requesting to have the training session there to actually move their business to Tobago, because it's one of the only ones in the Caribbean at that level. So, the permission will be granted. Apart from the Black Rock facility, we also started and completed the lighting work on the Patience Hill Recreation Ground, also the Patience Hill Hard Court. We are going to start in the next week or so on the Louisdor Recreation Ground, the lighting aspect of that. We also completing works on the Speyside Pavilion. We're going to start in a week or two on the Plymouth Pavilion. We have 4 hard courts right now that's in the advanced stage of redoing the surface, redoing the fencing, the lighting. That's WIM. And I mention WIM first because sometimes some people have this thought process that because WIM is represented by an opposition politician, that they will be on the back burner. They are not. The WIM court is under works right now. We also have WIM, Speyside, Montgomery. Those are the courts that are under construction as we speak. Speyside, the WIM, Montgomery, and Codler Hall.
All right, because I did see some
added
work
to that,
Mm-hmm.
Added to that, we are also in the process of finalizing arrangement to have work started on 9 other courts.
Mm-hmm.
Canaan Bonaccord, Goodwood, Plymouth, Black Rock, Signal Hill, Mount Pleasant, Buku, Table Peace, and Shaw Park, which I believe will start before the rest.
I haven't heard Jubilee Park being mentioned there, and I observe the use of Jubilee Park, the court there and the field. I see a lot of groups using it on a daily basis, and I'm wondering when they are going to be added to that list. And the reason I say this is because one, the field. You see a lot of football, all types of people come from all over because of the central location of where it is. You see a lot of people coming there, and the field is heavily waterlogged. Once there's a little rainfall, it's like a swamp behind this. I don't know if that's going to be included in your plans, and also the court itself can be resurfaced.
Yes, Jubilee Park will be included on this list. But the rain you're talking about and the thing, remember some of the grounds we have are not that high level ground. And I guess in Tobago, through the years, you would always have that problem when we have heavy rainfall. There isn't professional drainage done on these grounds. In many instances, it was just a place that was cleared and put into use. Right? So the drainage will always be a challenge. However, we are working on some of the other grounds to deal with the drainage problem, as a significant amount of money was spent on Shaw Park, where we actually could say we are about 95% through with that kind of problem. Shaw Park has a drainage system that works very good right now. And we intend to extend that as we go along. But of course, being realistic as I am, I wouldn't come here and give you no pie in the sky talk. These things will happen. The resources being available, right? You cannot. The worst thing to do in my tenure as an assemblyman or being in the sporting fraternity is making people believe that you have a pocket with no bottom by promising them a lot of things. And as we just to get a little clarity across there, this is why I sort of have a problem throughout the THA with the June budget presentation. It might be that way in law and it has to be done. It's a process that has to be done. But people actually only remember what you tell them first. They say this first impression lasts. People remember what you tell them first. So when the THA is submitting the budget estimates, you say you're going to fix 10 grounds. People hold you to that. They didn't hear the next part of it, that we're going to do this if we get this, what we're asking for. And that's kind of tricky, and it brings pressure on you as a representative, also as a secretary or assistant secretary, because people tend to remember what you tell them you're going to do. The first thing you say, they hold you to it, not understanding that these things could only be done if we get what we are asking for. And we never get what we are asking for. So in a sense, you could never do all that you're proposed to do.
So this list that you've presented to me this morning in terms of the other courts and facilities that are going to be upgraded, can we hold you to that, providing the resources are available?
You just said the magic word there. Probably I need to have you as my assistant.
Mr. Wayne Clark, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers this morning in terms of your experience, coming into the politics? I mean, we're in year 3, so you've had, 3 years to get yourself in there. What do you want to share with our viewers in terms of what the life is like? Because people actually see you as, he's an assemblyman or he's a secretary or whatever. And you're in public, they only see in the public part of you. But what would you like to share with our viewers in terms of I am just a man and the things that you have to endure in terms of holding your office and talking about the same commitments that you make to whether it's your constituents, whether it is the persons who you hold responsibility for in your division in the capacity you hold. How would you like to share who you are with them in terms of literally a person? How would you express that to them in closing?
Well, that's I should say, the easiest question you ask. Because I try to remain the same person, just the responsibilities change a little. And I entered politics, I should say, through the back door. When I said through the back door, it was never on my radar. I just saw myself as somebody who, because I come from a broken home, and because of that, it raised the desire in me to work with children who are always taught that I know where they at because I was there. Sometimes, like, one of the biggest lies, we have parliamentary language, I don't know if you have television language, if you could say lies, but one of the biggest lies we tell people sometimes is that, for instance, your child die, and somebody gonna come and tell you, I know how you feel, but their child alive, how you gonna know how I feel? You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that you have to. I come from a broken home. I know how it is, and it gave me the desire to go out there and work with children who are in a similar situation than I am. Educational wise, I was educated at the Dorothy Moses and the Lambo Primary School. That's as far as it went formally. I went to the Bonaccord Trade School after. And there's a good foundation. When you have a good foundation, the possibilities are endless. And I keep just trying to be as simple as possible, because sometimes complication change the whole picture. I just keep trying to be as simple as possible, try to be there, try to understand that, upon winning an election, 1,001 things going to run through your mind. But the rough reality is that it wasn't a promotion. It was a promotion, if you want to call it that, to serve. The good book says that he that is greatest among you shall be the servant. So it's a tricky thing that you could get twisted at times, thinking that you are elevated to this place where, it's different. No, it's just you're elevated, but you're elevated to the ground to stay there and to serve. Stay with the people, be with the people. Try to, comfort them with the truth. One of the things I want to share with Tobago is that there are a lot of complaints you will hear from time to time. I know you will hear it too on the ground about some of the sporting facilities and how it's been maintained. One of our rough realities is that, unknowing to a lot of people, all these facilities have a team of workers working there who actually fall down on the job a lot of times. And it's one of the problems. Any realistic thinking Tobagoan, any truthful Tobagoan will admit that we have a problem with productivity. It's a real problem. You know, we at 7:31 now, and if you go to any one of these grounds, probably if you're a drinker, I'll buy a drink for you if you're going to find a worker there now. And that's our challenge, and that's what we've been grappling with. If that, I have to single out one problem that we've been fighting with for these 3 years, I think that will be right at the top of the list, to have people to understand, yes, the government is there, but you have a duty to play also. And that's the biggest problem we keep having. The workers not producing what and how they should.
Mr. Clark, in closing, right, I want to ask you this very, very important question. It's in 2 parts. 1, what are you looking forward to in this 4th year? And 2, are you presenting yourself for re-election in the upcoming THA elections?
Well, you know, in politics, there is a lot. And a lot could change in a week. I think the biggest lesson for politicians is Palm Sunday and Good Friday. You know, that one particular person was hailed as a king on Palm Sunday, and 5 days later, that same person was nailed and crucified on the cross by the same people. We see how it goes when that time comes around. If the desire is still there and the favor is still there within the community, then a strong thought could be given to it. You know, we always have to be living in politics like this day, enjoy this day, it could be your last day. Nobody knows what will happen. But I would never lose the desire to serve. It will never go away, because even it was there before politics and it will be there after politics. So in that part, nothing will change. I would always be there. I would always be trying to serve.
Okay.
What was the next part?
What are you looking forward to the most in this last year?
I'm looking forward to working with people, have them understand from a wider level that the government is placed there, yes, to do things, but the government cannot do everything. I'm looking forward to people understanding that. And don't care where you are, once you are a citizen of Tobago, once you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, there is a role for you to play in order to make that dream complete. I'm looking forward to people who are employed doing what you were employed to do. Because if you don't deliver, in essence, we can't deliver. It might be easy for the Tobago House Assembly, and I'm not saying we are, because I don't think we have anything to do with Tobago updates, but just saying that we might provide a studio. For the studio to be the success, you have to go in there and do your job. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing. So if I have one message to the public, it's going to be that your job is as important as us. Do what you have to do. Do what you were employed to do. And if you do your part and we do our part, then I guess we'll be closer to having that complete Tobago, to having that Tobago with less challenges, a shorter line at the social service. There's a lot of I just wanted to clear up that part, because sometimes you could be misunderstood with these things, but there's just too much people now that are single mothers and all of that, and appealing to the young men of Tobago to stand up and just as how you are expected to do your job on the job site, there's a bigger job you have to do in standing up, being there, owning up to your responsibility as a man, as a father. We have to take that very serious, because that role is one of the key things that shape our society. There's too much of fatherless children going around now, and too much of pressure on the mothers. In coaching football, in interacting with children, mostly, I mean, kudos to the fathers that are stepping up, because there are some that are actually there. I'm a single parent, and I had no choice other than to be there for my children. And a lot of fathers, you've seen some stepping up now, but it's way too much that just hiding. And those are the things that contribute to crime. Those are the things that contribute to us having the society that we presently have. If people just do, everybody have a small part to play. the big job will get done if everybody play their small part.
And I like that in closing. The big job will be done if everybody plays their small part. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Assemblyman Wayne Clark. He is the Assistant Secretary in Community Development, Youth Development and Sport and Area Representative for Lowlands Lambo Lowlands, as the constituency is called. Of course, we went through this morning beneath the surface talking about who he is as a politician, his role in the division and in his constituency, and dealing with all the responsibilities attached to those offices. We have to go for a short break before we continue conversations this morning in studio. Of course, we want you to stay with us. But guess what? Up next, we have our next guests are Valentine McKenzie and Thora Best. Yes, Valentine McKenzie is up next, so he'll be joining us right after the break. So do stay with us, ladies and gentlemen, as we go. We invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. I am Adana Kumbi. Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning. We speak with Valentine McKenzie, a committee member of the Bacchanal Calypso Tent. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, good morning.
Of course,
how are you this morning?
I'm well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to have you with us this morning. We know that we are in the carnival season here in Trinidad and Tobago, and so we must talk about the arts. And we're talking about Calypso, the Bacchanal Calypso Tent. So let's get straight into the conversation this morning. I see that you're a committee member. What is your role and function in this tent?
Okay, my name is really Valentine. That's February 14th. Okay?
Right.
So, right, Valentine McKenzie. I am the manager of the Bacchanal Calypso Tent. Right? I'm the manager of the Bacchanal Calypso Tent. And we are here this year, as usual, doing calypsos in the windward. We are mainly based in the windward end of Tobago. Right? So we are really focusing mostly on the talent in the east.
All
The
right.
talent in the East, we have. Go ahead.
Right, and I see the upcoming event, the Fusion, that is taking place on the 1st of February.
Correct.
Right, so can you give us
Fusion.
some?
Now, okay, it's a bit of culture mix of Tobago art form. We are presenting the show on Saturday the 1st to really highlight the Bacchanal Calypso tent in general. This tent is being sponsored by nobody. We go around looking for sponsors, sending proposals and things, and sometimes we get, sometimes we don't get assistance. So we are therefore looking for assistance. But up to now, all the persons that we have sent letters to for assistance, we haven't got any respond from them as yet. So we are doing this thing on Saturday called Fusion. It's a mix of culture in Tobago art form. We will be having like some of the cast on the Bacchanal Calypso tent performing. We will have Pan, Gerald Balfour. We have the Mr. Eric Powder as the MC, well-known comedian. We'll have a skit by the Tobago Jam McGill and a few other acts. Fusion.
All right, and it's taking place this Saturday at the Scarborough Library Auditorium.
Correct, it's right.
All right, is there a
Correct.
cover charge? What is the fee to enter?
No, it's no charge. It's no charge. It's no charge. We
All
are
right,
doing this to charge the carnival season. We have planned to open the tent on the 8th. That's next week, Saturday.
all right, so this is just to bring awareness and, of course, to showcase the talent within the tent and the culture itself here on the island of Tobago.
Correct is right.
All right. Well, of course, we do wish you the very best, and we do hope that persons come out and participate and, of course, enjoy what you are taking your time to put together for persons to enjoy. In closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers?
Okay. The theme for the carnival season this year, I believe, is there is no place like home. And the Bacchanal Calypso tent, the home for Bacchanal Calypso tent is in the east of Tobago. So therefore, we are at home and we are looking for sponsorship to help us to promote the Bacchanal Calypso tent in the east. Because in the east, our home is in the east.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we do wish you the absolute and very best there with that event that is upcoming this Saturday. So all are invited this Saturday, 7 p.m. at the Scarborough Library as we showcase, as the Bacchanal Calypso tent showcases the culture of Tobago and brings awareness to the carnival season here in Tobago. Thank you so much, Mr. Valentine Mackenzie, committee member of the Bacchanal, well, actually the manager, he said, of the Bacchanal Calypso tent. We move on next to our next interview. Thora Best. Thora Best is also online this morning. We're having that conversation as she's a special advisor to Tuho Junior Calypso Committee, and we're talking about Junior Roving Tent. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, my dear, and thank you for having me.
All right. While we get Thora Best ready there this morning, as you are aware, we are in the carnival season, and you will be hearing a lot about Calypso tent. You'll be hearing a lot about, what is happening in the culture here of Trinidad and Tobago as we showcase, last weekend we came out of the small bands panorama. And so you'll continue hearing more about whether it's panorama, calypso, the arts and culture here in Trinidad and Tobago as we go through what is happening. We have Miss Thora Best online this morning, and we're talking about the Junior Roving Tent. Good morning and welcome. Good morning, Miss Best.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm hearing you.
All right, welcome to our program this morning. And of course,
Thank you so much.
we are in the carnival season, and of course it's that time of the year where we showcase our culture. And this time we're speaking about the junior roving tent. So let's get into that conversation one time and give our viewers all the information they need to have as they plan, because people have to plan what events they're going to attend, what they're going to support, and how they are going to distribute their time around this festive busy carnival period.
Yes. So the roving tent is the juniors, the performing juniors, the calypsonians, who we take around the country to perform for their peers. Normally we go to schools around the country. However, this year we decided that we will come to Tobago. We haven't been to Tobago in about 15 years. But as you know, the junior calypso monarch hails from Tobago.
That's right.
None other than Miss Nataki Thompson. So in honor of her, we decided to launch Junior Carnival with the roving tent in Tobago tomorrow.
Right.
We will be at the Goodwood High School, and we are bringing along with us not only the current junior calypsonians, but also senior calypsonians who have passed through the junior calypso rank. So we are also having with us Aaron Duncan and Irfan Alves.
Sounds very, very exciting. What time frame is the tent going to be there from?
From about 10 o'clock. We're going to start at 10 o'clock. We want to start the show at about 10 o'clock. And I think other schools around have been invited to come on out and see the show.
All right. Of course, we do want to wish you the very, very best there. We do support the culture. We support the arts. And in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers this morning?
I just want to say that we have heard that Tobago is coming strong and would like to retain the crown this year, coming again. So we wish them all the best. The preliminaries for Tobago will be on the 10th of February. And the national semifinals is on the 15th of February, and finals, of course, on the 24th of February. So we are looking out for an exciting time. The other roving tent show will be in Radisson Hotel here on the 12th. And we have a contingent of Tobago junior calypsonians coming down to be part of that show.
All right. So, of course, for the entire season, we do wish you the very best. And we hope that every stop that you make, of course, you bring that attraction to the culture and that people participate and support all the hard work that you are doing out there. And, of course, get the children involved in what is Trinidad and Tobago. So the very best to you there. And thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Ms. Thorabes.
You're quite welcome.
Special Advisor to TUCO Junior Calypso Committee, speaking about the Junior Roving Tent. Up next, we have Wilfred Fullerton, Program Manager of the Project Execution Unit in the Ministry of Public Utilities. He's coming to speak about the Goldsboro Water Treatment Plant. That is up next. But before we have that conversation with him, we have to go for a short break. And as we go, of course, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979 438.
The best place to stay in Tobago is at Thorns Place, with rates starting as low as 200 TT. Call or WhatsApp 745-7306 or 682-8676. We are located uptown Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port. Remember, at Thorns Place, our aim is to make your stay safe and affordable.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We're just about 7:52 a.m. So if you're getting the children to school and yourself to work for 8 a.m., you might be a little bit late. But if you are still on our nation's roads, remember to drive safely. We want you to arrive alive. Yes. We continue conversations this morning in studio, and we switch gears a bit this morning. We speak with Mr. Wilfred Fullerton. He's a program manager at the Project Execution Unit in the Ministry of Public Utilities, and we're talking about a brand new project coming on stream, the Goldsboro Water Treatment Plant. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Adana, and thanks for having me. Good morning to Tobago and the wider listening and viewing audience. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it is a pleasure to have you here this morning. And of course, we're talking about something that is very, very important.
Yes.
Water is life.
It is.
Without water, we will not survive, right? Water just like air. Mm-hmm. And so it is very important to have plans and projections in terms of preserving water and ensuring that there is a capacity of water to meet the needs of the people that occupy a specific space.
Yes.
So this conversation, I find it to be very, very important. And so I do hope that what we speak about today will bring enlightenment and satisfaction to the people in the area who will be, depending on the water supply. Yes. It has been challenging over the years where we've been seeing a decline in the water supply and stuff like that. And so we welcome this conversation this morning. So I want to get into the conversation. What exactly is this project? What are the objectives of this project? Let's start there, and then we'll talk about how do we get there.
Okay, thanks for that question. The objective of this project actually is to construct a brand new water treatment plant. The location, as we just spoke about, it's in Goldsboro, Tobago. We do expect that we'll have a population of about 17,000 persons being the beneficiaries of this water supply. It is a raw water source, so that means it comes from the Goldsboro River there. And we do expect that the time for construction of this project is 18 months. 6 months have already elapsed, so that we're looking towards the end of March as the delivery date for this project.
Wow, that is Speedy Gonzalez. Can I say that on air? Of course, it's welcomed. So tell us, you said that 6 months has already passed. Yes. So tell us the actual process of how do we get from an idea into mobilization, into action, and then to delivery of the project.
Okay, it all starts with what is the required supply for the immediate persons in the immediate area. And of course, having done that and sourced and realized that the Goldsboro Water Treatment River can actually supply the water that we're looking for, it means that the plant would now have been envisioned. It would have gone to its design stage, which we are in right now, coming to the last legs of it. And from that, we'll go straight into execution. So as soon as we are done, we're going to have a weir constructed across the river so that the water is dammed and there's enough water to get to the plant. We're going to have the actual foundation works, designs and stuff being completed foundation works being constructed. Then we're going to go to the superstructure, which is the actual buildings and the components that come together. And of course, then we'll have commissioning and delivery to the people of Tobago.
Smoothly said. You know, I suppose when you understand your objectives and your goals and you lay out your plans, you kind of know where you're going from here.
Yes.
And so I'm seeing that there is an event taking place tomorrow, as it were. Let's talk about how did we get there.
All right. So tomorrow is a big day for us. It's a big day for Tobago because this water treatment plant, I think, is the largest on the island. It's one that it's a partnership arrangement between the IDB and the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago through the Ministry of Public Utilities. Of course, the Ministry of Planning and Development are the persons who would actually be the intermediary between MPU and the IDB Bank. When we consider that the plant is going to be placed in Goldsboro, and the 17,000 residents are actually going to be the beneficiaries of it, it means that we're going to have quite a bit of activity taking place on site. To get here, we had to have a public consultation, the first of which was held in November of 2023. That was held at the Pembroke Community Center. And we had a good turnout, and that consultation dealt specifically with introducing the public to what our intentions and what our goals would have been. Following that, there was a second consultation that took place in September of 2024, just over a year later, where we'd have completed the tendering process, all the procurement aspects were dealt with, and we formally introduced the contractor, Toshiba Waterworks Solutions, to the public. At that consultation, we would have asked the contractor to deal specifically one-on-one with the project, so they know exactly what the plans would be, they know what employment concerns would have been like, and all those things were dealt with at the second consultation. Having completed both of them, we are now at the stage where we now have the sod turning ceremony. Moving kind of quickly, as you indicated, but it's all well. It went really well thus far. And tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m., we're going to have a sod turning ceremony at the site, at the Goldsboro Water Treatment Plant. At that ceremony, we expect to have the THA present. They have already acknowledged their presence going to be there. Minister and Member of Parliament for Tobago West, Minister and Member of Parliament for Tobago East, Minister of Planning and Development, and of course, the Minister of Public Utilities. We all be in attendance there tomorrow.
Right, and of course, community members.
Of course, the farmers and stuff in the area, they too have accepted invitations to be there tomorrow as well.
Right, and when they come out on this site tomorrow, what are they actually seeing on site?
Right, so we have the area, the footprint where the plant is going to be. It's already marked out, it's already laid out and stuff like that. So they're going to see the actual area where the plant is going to be constructed. They're actually going to see how we get access to the site. And of course, the feature speakers will give them a better picture as to what happens during construction and upon delivery of the site as well. You're going to have some shovels turning over the soil as well as turning actually, yeah. Right,
and in terms of providing and supplying water, as I mentioned in the introduction, water definitely is life and it is a required resource for our existence. What was the process in terms of determining we need to have another plant in Tobago to supply water? I know that there have been issues, but how did we come to this position, this conversation? Where did it start and how did it materialize and come to, okay, let's get started, let's make the approach to get the funding and the collaborative efforts and all the agencies coming on board to say, okay, let's do this, let's move forward and let's give this thing to the people of Tobago because it is definitely needed.
Okay, so in an effort to ensure that we meet the World Health Standards in terms of the amount of water that is available per individual, and because Tobago is a tourist destination, we do have guests, and we don't want them leaving here with bad news about how the water source wasn't so adequate and stuff like that. So that in addition to the public, when you add the guests that are expected to that, we were falling short by quite a bit in terms of how much water is available and how do we get it to general public. Because we want to make sure everybody gets water, it means that the precious resource that we had in its limited quantities had to be diverse and sent to all different areas and stuff. If we can concentrate in areas where there are immediate water sources and improve that supply in that area, then we now have the opportunity to go to different areas and replicate that at some point in time. This would have started quite some time ago, where the water resource agencies, the persons entrusted with the responsibility of sourcing and finding water for us, would have been doing searches and gathering data for quite some time. And it is upon that data that we were able to assess that the Goldsboro River has enough supply, seasonal as it may be, there's enough supply that we can construct a plant and have that plant give us at least 1.67 million imperial gallons per day, so that the immediate areas of Glamorgan, Goldsboro, Petersfield, and the like would be the beneficiaries of the supply.
And that was my next question. You kind of preceded it in terms of how do you determine what area, how do you determine where you're going to put this plant? I mean, of course, there must be assessments. I'm certain that there are professionals in the industry who would do their research, gather their information, and make their assessments. So there you are now answering the question there for me in terms of how do you determine? And also, were there other areas that were possibly on the list that could have been a possibility, and the final decision was we'll go to Goldsboro?
Okay, so Goldsboro is not going to be a one-stop shop. This isn't going to be the only plant that's going to be constructed. In addition to that, they'll be supplemented with wells and stuff like that. So that there's always a constant search for improved and increased water supply throughout the nation. Just before we would have gotten here, we would have had this loan divided into three components. Component one would have dealt with the sustainability of the water that we have existing, and how do we improve on that. There's component two, which deals specifically with capacity building, that deals with ensuring that the operators of the facilities are best trained to operate and maintain these facilities. And of course, there's component three, which deals with non-revenue water and automation of most of the plants, if not all of them, so that there's a better response time and a better management and control over the existing water supply and those that are going to be coming on board and stuff like that. It means, therefore, that once let's say the Water Resort Agency would have gathered that information over time, statistical data. It means that the site that's chosen or selected right now, it is at the best possible location to, one, address water takeover from the river, and two, the immediate residents in that area, farmers and the like, are the principal beneficiaries. You don't want it to be too far away where distribution becomes an issue. And the good thing about this plant is that the persons in the immediate environs, as identified before, are going to be the beneficiaries of it. So what supply they would have been getting before could now be reassigned to other areas. So really and truly, all of Tobago, most of it benefit from this plant.
It sounds so... I am by no means an engineer. And, of course, when I hear conversations of this type in terms of how do you, I always ask the question, but how? Yes. Because I like to have an understanding as to how things happen, how things operate, and how people are going to benefit. And this, to me, is a holistic, you took a holistic approach in terms of doing this project, embarking on this project. And I know you said that Goldsboro is not a one-stop shop and that there will be wells and, other support mechanisms in place for that. Futuristically, looking ahead, what are the other plans in terms of more plans? Whether it is in Tobago or in your capacity, wherever you are looking at, are there any immediate plans or any medium to long-term plans in terms of ensuring that there are more plants distributed so that the water supply can become adequate or sufficient for any particular area?
Okay, so this being one of the most recent developments within the National Water Sector Transformation Program, it means that the search continues. The search is forever ongoing, but as we speak right now, alongside this Goldsboro water treatment plant, back in Trinidad at Santa Cruz, there's another water treatment plant that's going to be constructed as well. Slightly smaller, but does the same thing. The immediate environs are going to be beneficiaries of that water supply. It is a surface water source. It comes from the Santa Cruz River and stuff like that. And there are a number of wells that are being considered and have already been drilled and stuff like that as well. So there's a constant request to improve, and increase, when necessary, the water supply that we have. Under component 3, as I would have mentioned just a while ago, there's also a trust to ensure that the water that is already in the system actually reaches the customers. So it means that the losses that are occurring based on leaks and whatever else, and those persons who are not paying for the water that they take will actually get a chance now to do the right thing and get us up to speed as well. So I will hold a bit in terms of sharing with you what are the futuristic plans, because I don't want to get to the point where it may not yield what we anticipate, and therefore it may have to take another turn. So let us hold on the futuristic development in terms of additional plans just for this occasion.
All right, I totally understand and I accept that. So tomorrow, this sod-turning event takes place and the handover for this phase until the construction of the actual plant.
Yes.
So people can expect, based on the timeline given, that the plant will be ready by?
God's willing, there should be no issues at all associated with it. Toshiba Waterworks Solutions Limited, they have a history of more than 32 years in the industry. In the Caribbean, actually, they have more than 24 years in Trinidad. They would have constructed several wastewater and water treatment plants before. So they come with a wealth of knowledge and a background and a full understanding and appreciation of what the Trinidad and Tobago public requires and the timelines associated with it. You do expect good returns from them. So far, so good. And we expect that would continue. And with that in mind, I think we're on good hands, and I think we should be able to deliver on time.
Absolutely amazing, amazing stuff. You know, I have to say thank you so much for this project, for the collaborative effort, and of course for delivering this project to Tobago at this particular point in time.
Yes.
All the very best, and I am waiting for the execution and the completion of this project. You know, I'll be looking on, and it sounds really, really amazing in terms of the as I said, the holistic approach to you know, the assessment and everything that was put in place to ensure it's delivered as to where it is now. So congratulations on that. Thank you so much, and you know, all the best. And I do hope that future plans get on the way as, you know, projected. Although you didn't tell me, you know, I know you can't. I know you can't, but I do hope that future projects get on the way as projected as well. So thank you very much for coming this morning and giving us that information, and of course delivering that project to the people of Tobago.
Thank you very much, Adana, and thank you very much for having me this morning.
Of course. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Wilfred Fullerton, Program Manager, Project Execution Unit, Ministry of Public Utilities, this morning talking about the Goldsboro Water Treatment Plant. Ladies and gentlemen, this is where we end the morning show on Tobago Updates Television, but it's not where we end our programming. We head on over to GMT, which is Good Morning Tobago, and as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live.
Grief is really about phases. Some days you'll be good, some days you won't. Some days you'll feel on top of the world, and some days you'll feel like, you know, you're in a pit and you can't come out. So I want to encourage people that as they go through phases to be compassionate towards themselves, to be gentle, and to always reach out, because social support is really what people need to help to bear the weight of this heaviness of loss. Support is what helps a woman, a family, people that are grieving overcome the loss that comes with losing an infant, whether it's miscarriage, stillbirth, or a neonatal death. And so today I'm hoping to help to break the silence, to normalize this. 1 in 4 women would experience some form of infancy or pregnancy loss.
The founder, Makita, is my cousin, and she was very supportive of Hannah Rose and I when we went through our loss in 2022. Even though it's naturally a painful experience for men as well, I think, you know, as a man, it's really hard to fathom how painful of an experience it is for the women and the mothers who go through that experience. And community is extremely important. So the awareness for me, raising the awareness through the organization is equally as important as the individual help that it gives to the people who go through those experiences.
Having the experience myself, it showed me a depth of pain that I think only others who have really experienced it could really know. And so it's really a healing thing to be able to connect with other people who could relate to the experience.
We know that we cannot be silent anymore. It is time for us to speak. The international theme this year is Together We Care. It is centered on the message that self-care is the most important integral way to show we care. In fact, it is essential if we are going to be able to raise awareness and speak out about pregnancy loss.
Was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers, we are melanated ones.
Right here on Tobago Updates. I am your host, Chanel Felix. And you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have those conversations that you want to have, while I ask those questions that you want asked. And this morning, right here on GMT, we are continuing our Beneath the Surface series. But before we get into that this morning with my co-host, Mr. Luke James Trim, we are going to have our news in 90 seconds. Chief Secretary Farley Augustine criticized the dilapidated state of Tobago's Coast Guard base, describing it as unfit for security personnel. Augustine called for urgent government action to modernize Tobago's security infrastructure, including equipment, facilities, and technology. He also highlighted resource shortages, recounting an incident where the Coast Guard lacked a boat for a critical operation. He emphasized his administration's commitment to improving security despite jurisdictional challenges, prioritizing funding for national security to combat crime and address Tobago's unacceptable murder rate, while urging bold and immediate reforms. Additionally, Minority Leader Kelvon Morris has called for Secretary in the Division of Tourism, Culture and Antiquities and Transportation, Tashia Grace Boris, to resign, accusing her of being dishonest about providing the name of the private promoter involved in the $9.3 million Tobago Rhythm and Soul Festival. Boris claimed she submitted the information promptly, but Morris stated no records exist. He criticized the secretary around the promoter's identity and questioned the transparency of the festival's organization. The Division of Tourism, Culture and Antiquities and the Tobago Festivals Commission defended Boris, labeling Media reports inaccurate, but Morris demanded clarity on the promoter's role and funding. And finally, Caribbean Airlines has announced that an emergency landing was declared for flight BW 1541 traveling from Tobago to Trinidad on January 27th. The ATR 72-600 aircraft landed safely at Piaco International Airport, and all necessary operational protocols were being followed for the passengers and crew. The aircraft will be removed from service to undergo inspection. And that was on news in 90 seconds. Now this morning we continue our conversation. I do have my co-host in studio with me. Good morning, Luke, and how are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Chanel, and I'm doing excellent this morning. I think this morning's topic will be an interesting one. You know, tourism and Tobago goes hand in hand. So I'm really thankful that we're going to be asking the questions that you want to ask viewers. This morning's conversation will be a very thought-provoking one. So tune in, stick with us, and we're about to initiate the continuation of the Beneath the Surface series. Chanel, can you introduce our guests?
No problem, Luke. Now, this morning we are chatting with another one of our assistant secretaries. But this morning, just as in our headlines, in our news, we are chatting with the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation's Assistant Secretary, Assemblyman Niall George. Good morning and welcome.
Morning, Chanel. Good morning, Luke. Good morning, Tobago.
Now, before we get into all things that are happening at the division, you know that with this Beneath the Surface series, the intention is to really get to know who you are as an individual and some of the ideas and thoughts behind some of the policies and activities that you have implemented during your term, whether that has been at the divisional level or in your community with your constituents. We know within the division you have the role of supporting the secretary, and you within 2024 would have been able to move from one division to another.
Yes.
And how was that transition for you, moving from the Division of Settlement, Public Utilities and Rural Development over to the Division of Tourism?
Well, at the Division of Settlements, it's a slower moving division. Very impactful because we're dealing with homes and security of tenure basically. But you have a lot more approval processes to go through. So it's a lot slower moving, but very impactful. Whereas in the Division of Tourism, especially in the culture department, it's much faster. You are involved with a lot more meetings and conversation with stakeholders. And if you have ever been to a stakeholder meeting, you know these are very passionate people, and it can, you need some very good negotiating skills to deal with it at times. It can be a task at times.
And at the division, do you have a specific area of responsibility that you are focused on setting the policy for and leading the charge on?
Culture and sports tourism and community tourism.
Okay, and what are some of the policies that, since you have gotten over there, which is pretty short time,
Yes.
that you have been able to implement that was not there before you got there?
Well, in both sport tourism and community tourism, we are actually at the point of developing the policy. We have looked extensively at the national policy, and we are taking out the bits that are more catered towards the Tobago side of things, so that we can develop a policy on that, because most of the national policies don't really cater specifically to Tobago. We have a lot of broad brush policies that don't take the intricacies of the island on board. So as such, we have started developing a policy based and focusing primarily on the needs of Tobago and Tobagonians on Tobago.
Okay, great. And Mr. George, I want you to talk to me a bit about the strategic vision of the division. Granted that we know that Tobago's tourism sector has faced significant challenges from the pandemic to even global competition. When you think about the efforts of the division, what has been that strategy to reposition Tobago as, you know, that tourism destination?
Well, we have to look at all aspects of the island. And when you're looking at it, there's a model in Castara, which is a heavy community-based model. And and it has been successful in attracting tourists year after year after year. And that's because the tourists are having a slice of Tobago, a real authentic Tobago experience. They feel like one of us when they are in Castor. But we also have to look at mixing all the other attraction, the sites, the culture, everything that makes Tobago Tobago. It can't just be heavily focused on one aspect. It has to be integrated. Our festivals, such as the Tobago Heritage Festival or Jazz Festival. That was one of the reasons why Tobago now has the Tobago Carnival in October, because in February, March, the National Carnival, we have competing interests with Trinidad, and they have an established model, and you would see even locals flocking to Trinidad to partake in what is considered the mother of all carnivals. So that was heavy in the consideration in us having Tobago's Carnival in October, which would be a standalone carnival, less competition, more opportunity for Tobagonians to take part in our local festival without the distraction of the festivities that are happening in Trinidad. Give us an opportunity to piggyback basically and collaborate with Trinidad entities so that we could have our festival move forward. It would also give us an opportunity to not make the mistakes that was made before. So we have an example to move forward from. So it's all about the holistic approach and getting everyone involved in the tourism of the island. Something that I'm also appealing to us as locals is to buy in and get involved, because no tourism product would be successful without buy-in of the citizens. It's about an experience, a holistic experience. Even the conversations on the road, the way that we deal with the tourists is very important. So each one on the island has to buy into the tourism product.
Okay, take me back to younger Nile George. What was life like growing up for you, and what were the factors that really influenced you, where you would have said to yourself, what probably leadership would be in my future, probably I should become a politician in the future?
I think it's something that happened naturally, Growing up, I would have played sports. I would have been captain in that. I would go back to high school. I went at Bishop's High School. I would have been the sports captain of the best house in Bishop's High School, Davies House. I know I'd get some flack, but the truth is the truth and you can't deny it, Then I went into growing up, I started playing all fours in the village team. I ended up being the captain of the village team. Then I went on to football with Stokely Vale. I ended up eventually being the manager of the football club. So, it was a natural inclination. I am someone that would garner respect just by the way I would do things, the way that I would treat people. So it has been a natural progression.
And how has that transition been for you when it comes to your relationship with people in the community? Because we know you are representing a part of Plymouth, and we know Plymouth has a different culture from many villages, and there can be the tendency for persons to say, well, Niall, you are no longer with us. It feels like, you get rich and switch or you reach where you're going. How do you bridge that gap between not being too far removed from the community, but also having the time to do what needs to be done at the division level, implementing policies and staying on the ground?
So it's something that you have to find time to do, and the best way to do it is by being with your people. Go to football matches, for instance, Panorama, be at the Pantent as I would have usually done. It's just about being around. It's much more difficult now with the volume of work that you have to do, but you just have to do it. You have to find the time. It can be tiring. Sometimes you get home, and when you get home, you're wondering, how did I even get home, the route that you took, because you're that tired, but you just have to do it. That's the life that you've signed up for.
But for you, there's a new baby in the picture. So how does that incorporate into everything? Being a new mom or a recent mom myself, I understand the demand that does take. So how are you balancing it all?
you just have to try to be present at home when possible and still balance the daily duties. It's not easy. It's very difficult. I'm here now, and if you notice, I have a bit of a stiff neck, and that, as I said, that all goes with the duty. You just have to make it happen. I mean, baby is growing, and as baby is growing, it gets easier. It is difficult, but you just have to do it. That's part of life. You have to find a way to make it work.
Okay, nice. Mr. George, I want you to walk me through that intersection of youth involvement and the division of tourism. I think tourism and culture offer significant opportunities for young people to get involved. What are some of the programs that have been implemented, or the programs we can see rolling out that really gets our young creatives, from in that tourism value chain, from the young creatives right up to entrepreneurs?
So, as you said, the orange economy is very important, and there are many programs within the culture division in terms of drum training, dance training. But one of the things that is also taking place on the island, there are a lot of cultural groups that receive support from the division of tourism. So it's about helping and propping. We are trying to empower our people to do their thing as well. It's not just about the division of tourism putting out programs as well. We encourage private persons to bring forward proposals. These proposals will then be screened, and based on their merit, assistance would be given. Panorama is going on currently, and we support the Panorama strongly. Actually, we are one of the main sponsors in the medium band final, being in Tobago, and that is important to us because our bands always travel to Trinidad. You have to bear a high cost just to get to Trinidad. For instance, if you wanted to go to small band finals, you'd have to get to Trinidad. Either you find some place to stay in South, some place to stay in town, and then you drive all the way to Skinner's Park to see the final. Then you have to get back and get to life. In my case, I had to get back, and I have a young baby, and immediately upon the reception, then I had to go to Charlottesville to get back. So that would have been a whole weekend of, that's probably why my neck is stiff now. But so it's very important for us to bring things to the island as well. That would bring bands, and with those bands, supporters come as well. So that would be very important for economic purposes as well.
Okay.
And when you talk about the ability to get funding and support for proposals, let's look at this Rhythm and Soul Festival that is being proposed for Easter. We are hearing the minority leader come forward to, indicate that the festival is projected to be around, I believe it's $9.5 million.
9.3.
Sorry, 9.3 thereabout. Was this one of those festivals where the proposal came to the division for part of the funding? What was the funding arrangement like, especially seeing that we came from a situation where the secretary reiterated on several occasions that the jazz festival in its previous form was not sustainable for the THA?
Right, so it's a sort of partnership, but one of the things that we are heavy on is that the cost borne by the taxpayers is minimal. The way the jazz experience was run before, so it brought a sense of earning to service providers, and it brought a sense of euphoria to people on the island, but it was at a heavy cost to the THA. And the chief secretary has been on record stating that jazz would not be done in the past iteration. So here we have a situation where Festival Commission has been tasked with basically engaging more private sponsorship and ensuring that ticket sales and private sponsorship would bear the majority of the cost, if not all of the cost. The only engagement in terms of finances that festival has with the promoter is that they were the ones that secured the act Buju Banton, the headline act Buju Banton before. So it was about us paying that cost and getting him to the island to be the headline act. And that's the only cost. And that would be around $225,000 US.
Okay, and Mr. George, we are expecting a new airport to touch down in Tobago very soon. However, While the argument is that, the airport is nice, the airport is big, people are arguing that people wouldn't come to visit Tobago just to see an airport. It comes down to the experience that you get from the island. And I think that argument ties into the broader conversation about Tobago's autonomy, because we understand that the limited resources and finances somewhat limits the division from really promoting the ambitious tourism policies that will boost the island's development. What are your thoughts on that?
So my autonomy is the most important thing on the table right now. But I have a issue where when we talk about resources, because there's this misconception that Tobago missed an opportunity by the bill not being passed, right? In its current state, the bill is inadequate, right? And there is also the fact that currently central government can give us more than the amount of percentage that is stated in the bill. So it seems like we have to tie our hands to something to receive 6.8%, when currently we could receive 6.9%.
Okay.
What is it that is preventing central government from giving 6.9%, or even the same 6.8% that is proposed in the bill? If you really want to give someone something, you wouldn't be breaking the law by giving us 6.8%. So what's holding you back from giving the 6.8%? And if you look at our budgetary asks, it has been at 5%, 5.5%, because we understand the constraints of the country. We understand the situation, but notwithstanding, we also understand that we have development needs on the island. So we would ask for 6.8%, and we know we won't get it. So we're asking for 5.5, between 5 and 5.5, and we are still not getting that. Is it that you have to tie your hands to get a reasonable allocation? If you look at the current arrangement in the Dispute Resolution Committee, it's between 4.03% and 6.9% based on the development needs of the island. And I am sure that if central government takes a serious look at the island, they would realize that we need more than 4.5%. It's not about what we want, it's what we need.
And I think there's an agreement with that on all sides. But as you touched a bit, Luke, on the new airport in Tobago, has there been any conversations that you are aware of with the airport authority to ensure, I continue to ask this to everyone that comes here, to ensure that Tobagonians receive equitable treatment where the allocation of spaces are, when it has to do with that in the airport, whether it be for duty-free shops or just to be able to ply their trade in that airport and be the economic benefactors of that new airport?
Well, Chanel, I'm sorry to say, based on the record of how that has been going so far, and I'm sure you would have heard Secretary James speak about the fact that the airport was built and the division had no viewing of the plans. As a matter of fact, the airport was built without approvals from health being given until a very late stage. So we are the central government, we'll do what we do, we have authority over Trinidad and Tobago, and we understand that, but there's nothing wrong with having a conversation. It has ended up with a roundabout being misplaced in terms of location to the French Railroad that has been built. So I am just saying that based on the track record, I'm not very hopeful of the way things would go, because once authority is vested there, we could have as much conversation as we want. If they allow us, the final decision is with them, and we have very little control once it's not in there.
So are you saying that it is not guaranteed that Tobagonians would be given any type of quota or any type of preference when it comes to putting lucrative businesses in that Tobago airport?
Well, the only way I could guarantee that is if I have been privy to a conversation or an agreement that guarantees that. So at this point in time, there has not been any conversation or any agreement that guarantees that. So I would not be on record stating that.
Okay.
All right. Well, at this moment, viewers, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Just remember to share the live, share the live, share the live, and we'll be right back.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With AMPLIA TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with AMPLIA's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With AMPLIA, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. AMPLIA. Do more, live more.
Rotisserie, mouth-watering fries, salads, combos, and specials galore. Feeling for something to eat? Come and see. Our rotisserie is seasoned to the T. Kicking chicken, masala, and jerk roast. Crispy fries made from scratch. Who do you know can beat that? Or salads freshly cut and packed. When you taste it, you'll be wanting to come back. So come check us out on number 2 Robinson Street, Uptown Scarborough, Tobago. We open on Saturday nights from 7:30 to 11:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. and on Friday, 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Contact us at 772-7443 and all social media handles at the Rotisserie Factory.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. And before we continue the Beneath the Surface series, we have an ad for you to tune into. So we are calling Tobago's finest artisans. Register for Tobago Treasures, a celebration of local content and community entrepreneurship. Now the location is at the Belgarden Multipurpose Center, and it will be on Saturday the 1st of February 2025 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Now the artisan packaging is $100 and it includes one tablecloth and 2 chairs. Now there will be entertainment, games, food and good vibes, and registration ends on Monday 27th of January at 8 p.m. and there's a Google Doc form that you can fill out, so you can reach out to Tobago Updates so we can share that link with you. Now viewers, we are continuing the conversation with Assistant Secretary Mr. Niall George. Mr. George, touching on community tourism a bit and the division's efforts to really push that agenda. I know that doesn't really fall under your remit, but for the year 2025, what can we expect if you're able to, just give us that Easter egg? What can we expect to see from the division where community tourism is concerned?
Well, actually, that does fall under my remit.
Okay, nice.
So, as I said, there's a model in Castara that we intend to emulate. Mm-hmm. It has been very successful, actually the most successful model in Tobago. Mm-hmm. where we invest in more bread and breakfast style housing. And in order for us to do that, we would have to regulate this industry. You would have to make sure that your facilities are up to a certain standard. We'd have to have a registry. So we are basically there for putting or making the steps to put this in place, right? We would also have to provide some sort of assistance financially for persons to upgrade their buildings and so forth. So all of these processes in terms of this policy is being implemented as we speak.
So how do you navigate cultural preservation? Because, you know, we still need to keep that Tobago culture preserved, but still have a sort of modern touch to keep to sort of drawing those more younger tech-savvy persons. How do you navigate between, you know, keeping things modern, but still keeping it Tobago and cultural?
But that's where policy comes into play, because what attracts persons to your island really is your culture. That's why culture and tourism have been placed together.
Okay.
It's because your culture is really, it's not just about sites only. It's because you can have the most beautiful sites.
Correct.
And the people aren't welcoming. You won't get anybody here. And that's why I said from the beginning, it has to be a holistic approach in the way that we deal with things. And that's why Castara is so popular, because the tourists get there and they feel as though it's a home away from home. And that's the only way you could have someone returning to Ireland year after year for 17 years. It's because they have, when they get here, they feel this welcoming feeling, they get a taste of your cuisine, they can walk freely on the roadway, you have the natural beauty. So it's all about us time. And I mean, Tobago has beautiful communities. Everywhere you go, we have beautiful communities. And I'm appealing to us to hold on to that. We see some negative influences creeping into the crevices. I'm asking us to hold together, bind together, be strong, and repel these negative influences. But generally, we have a beautiful product. It's just for us to refine it and upgrade it. And as you said, integrate technology in terms of the way we attract people to this.
I'm glad that Luke brought that up, because it's so important. When we even look at the Airbnb market, which is one of the primary markets that persons are now using now when it comes to accommodation in Tobago. So when it comes to revitalizing or building that on that community tourism, yes, you're giving persons grants to upgrade their space, but it would be naive of us to think that everybody wants that Castara outdoor natural aesthetic. And there are different demographics who require different things. For instance, there are persons who will say, if I am leaving my home, which is already my own luxurious space, I want to go into a space that feels luxurious. And when you look at the properties that do the best on Airbnb, a lot of the time, it's those properties that have a touch of modernity and, you know, that taste of luxury. How are you at the division working together with the property owners when giving them those grants to ensure that the balance is struck when upgrading the property?
Again, as I said, that's exactly where the policy comes into play. And it's just like any other division where grants are structured based on needs. That's how we would have to do it. It can't be one grant base for everyone. It has to be based on the specific needs and the specific qualifications of an applicant.
Right. And so is there any training attached to the grant in terms of what they should be upgrading and how it should be upgraded and what type of appeal they should be trying to have to the tourists? So
generally, in terms of tourism, we need human resource training all around. So they would be treated, there's a necessity for training at all levels of tourism. I honestly think that we need to attack tourism from a school base, as low as even primary school, so that it becomes a way of life for citizens. If you travel to other Caribbean countries, and this is something that I say all the time, our greatest blessing has turned out to be our greatest curse. In terms of our oil money, we have been a rich Caribbean state. And most of the islands going up the Caribbean, these people need tourism. It's the only way of life. Many of us in Trinidad and Tobago have found another way of life, and the sensitivity towards tourism is less acute in Trinidad and Tobago. So we need to make people, or to educate people of the benefits of tourism. Tourism is big money, and if you do it the right way, it can lead to a much better and more comfortable life for you. So it's about investing your time, investing your money, and there are many rewards to be gained from it.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, you are the area representative for Plymouth Black Rock. So from the perspective of the area representative for that area, how has that been thus far for you? What were some of the initiatives, the project, the plans, the visions you were able to execute? And you could touch on some of the challenges you would have experienced as an area representative.
So my district is a huge district, and it could be considered a rural district in urban Tobago. Plymouth is very well developed. Plymouth Black Rock is fairly well developed, but then when you go into areas like Mount Hay, Fairbanks, Orange Hill, it's a bit underdeveloped in terms of road infrastructure. And that's why it goes back to resources and need in terms of development. Many of the critical road infrastructures that would be needed in my district are $1 million projects. So they would be slow in developing because we are at a time where we have financial crunches and we have inherited a huge debt, and we still have to find a way to move forward. Now, one of the things that is very important and sometimes overlooked with this administration is that we have chosen people over infrastructure. We got into office, we raised the salaries of CPEP workers, we raised the salaries of URP workers, we secured the contract of nurses, we have the 10-on, 10-off programs because we understand that it's a very difficult time financially. And we are trying to secure homes in terms of job opportunities and job security. But the pie is the pie, and the resources are what they are. So you have the choice of employ or secure people, build more things. So there has been some suffering in terms of building more things for the people. We have not stopped. We continue to develop the island, because you see there are the friendship roads. There's the road in the back at RC there. We are continue to do development work, but we have given priority to persons and people within the community. So it's much more difficult to do both with the resources that we have, and that's why, as you said, autonomy is very important.
And when it comes to some of the plans that you had coming into office, I remember one of those major plans had to do with that Plymouth jetty. Where are you in that process? And were there any plans that you had that, you really could not have accomplished, and it hurts your heart that hasn't been done as yet?
Well, the Plymouth jetty, the main issue with the jetty would be the lease of the lands surrounding the jetty. One of the leases has expired and one will expire this year. And until those leases have expired, no progress can be made with the jetty. We have to get out of those, the second lease, and then we would be able to progress. Because if you look at the area, it's a very compact area in terms of storage of any material that would be needed to construct the jetty. Those, basically the two parcels of lands that we would have been able to use were occupied by Mr. Gillette. So unless we are out of those leases, it would be the storage and transportation costs will be astronomical in terms of building the jetty. So as soon as we are out of those leases, then full speed ahead.
Meaning with the persons who are in the lands nearby, as long as they are no longer in that lease, or the THA no longer has?
As long as Mr. Gillette's leases have expired.
Right.
Because he's still in control of the main parcel, which is a parcel just above the land above where the post office area would have been there, and where the storage tanks to the fuel are currently.
Understood. And when it comes to some of the projects that you came into office that were near and dear to your heart, that you promised your constituents that you have not been able to deliver, what were some of those projects and how have you been able to communicate with them on the progress of those projects?
So just as I communicated with you here, I have been upfront in terms of the main project that I would have focused on would have been digital, and it has not come to fruition as yet. The thing about when I campaigned is that I took an approach of, I may have ideas, but if you look across Tobago, there are many ideas that politicians have implemented and they are unused because the community never bought into that idea. So it's about, where I'm concerned, it's about representing your interests. We meet, we decide what you want, and then we move forward from there. And when I got into office, the main thing that persons within my district were complaining about was road access. Road access. You'd have the Roselle area, in the Marysville area, the Orange Hill Road. So we weren't able to upgrade these roads to a level that I would have liked to have them upgraded. But one of the things that I've focused on is making sure that the roads are passable, making sure that people have access to and from their homes. So whether it be grading, whether we are able to put some rock and roll and oil, that's the main focus where these roads are with me until we have attained finances where we can have superior upgrades.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break right here and we'll be back as we continue this conversation very soon. So see you again.
Coconut's Cafe, the buffet restaurant that specializes in all your tasty local dishes. For breakfast and for lunch. Breakfast includes coconut bake and sada roti, served with chokers, bull joil, and sausages in tomato sauce. Not forgetting beef and cheese pies, shepherd's pie, macaroni pie, and rice in various styles. Meat served in a variety of flavors, garden salads, and pasta salads. All this accompanied by fruit juices, coconut water, your choice of a great combination to appease your taste buds. So call us today to order, as we are here to accommodate your busy schedules or if you are having a cooking day off.
Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. This morning we continue our Beneath the Surface series, chatting with Assemblyman Niall George. Now this morning, unfortunately, we have to round up the discussion, but for you, we've asked all the representatives that came here, Are you looking to put yourself back up for office come next THA election? And do you think that you would receive the type of support from the community that is needed for that? Is it something that you want to pursue again?
Yes, I would like to pursue it again, and I know it would be tougher because the expectation of this administration was very high. But the reality is you could only deal with what you have. And in terms of the resources given to us, it has been constantly going downwards in a time where inflation is going upwards. And I'll speak in layman terms here. We as a government face the same challenges as the man on the ground. I'm sure that a bachelor who would have made groceries for $1,500, those groceries are now at approximately $3,000. And these are the same housing material has risen. These are the same prices that as a government you face. So you would hear central government banding about that we have received the most money of any THA. Yes, it's the highest figure. But when you look at the spend that you would get from that figure, it has been astronomically lower. So in terms of some of the things that we would have liked to get done, we didn't, but that's natural. That's governance. You have to reprioritize and you have to refocus. So it's just about us continuing to explain to the people, continuing to do what we have done, continuing to choose people over things, and moving forward.
Okay, great.
I'd also like to take a moment to congratulate Eastside on their current victory in small conventional band. I'd also like to congratulate all the other bands that took place. I mean, you could only have one winner. Well, in this case, two winners because there was a tie for first. But I'd like to congratulate all of the pan sides that played in small and single pan. I know from visiting pan tents the long hours, the hard work that is put into it, a lot of hard work by drill masters, by captains, and to see it come to fruition, the young arrangers that we have in our midst that are making Tobago proud. Well, Mr. Ramsey, Kirsch Ramsey, who would have retained the title, Mr. O.J. Richards, who would have won the title in the past. They have Mr. Toby, Mr. Nore, Leandro Nore, we have Keishon Julian, and these young arrangers and bands that have been flying the flag of Tobago very high and have been making us very proud. Tobago thanks you. We thank you at the Division of Tourism, and the THA thanks you, and we'd just like to say congratulations to them again.
And Mr. George, what would you want your legacy to be as Assistant Secretary? Meaning, how do you see your role really shaping the reality and the perception of Tobago's tourism sector?
So we, based on my responsibility, I would like us to make an impact in sport and community tourism that would add benefit to our tourism product. Sports tourism is very underviewed in my opinion, and have such a huge impact on our tourism product. I mean, I went to teams, and being there made me understand that some of the things that we take for granted is exactly what the tourists are looking for. For example, the ability to go in, let's say use a ground like Speyside or Plymouth, for example. You go to that ground, you play cricket, and then you can just take off your clothes and walk to the beach. That is not something that tourists are accustomed to. That is something that excites them. So we have to find a way to integrate these things that we take for granted into our tourism program.
I like the fact that you included that, because you know that a lot of times when you travel to different countries, you can just pop up at a court somewhere or a sporting facility and just participate in sport as a tourist with your friends as one of your activities. You can even go on a date on a golf club, at a golf club or anything like that. So when it comes to your strategy of boosting community sport tourism, what would that look like in the Tobago context?
So would come in terms of events and just natural accessibility to sporting facilities as well. So currently we are looking at two. I wouldn't speak about them yet because they aren't concrete, but we are looking at 2 sporting events to be brought to the island. Very popular, fairly inexpensive to host, and that's right along our alley because as we all know, resources are scarce and we have to find creative ways to do things.
And does that have anything to do with drag racing or motorsport?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, okay. Well, again, we want to thank you so much for your time here this morning and, taking the time out to come and speak to Tobagonians. I have an interesting question, though. What would you say to members of your community who would say that they are not happy with your representation?
Chanel, the reality is no matter what you do, no matter how well you do, there are people that would be displeased with you. Whether it's for something personal that they would like you to do for them or otherwise. And it's, as a representative, it's impossible to please every one of your constituents or district persons. So I just do the best that I can do, and it's a majority that wins. So I'm hoping and praying and believe strongly that the dissenters would be in the minority.
And wrapping up, Mr. George, last question for you, and you'll be free. When you think about the island of Tobago, what does Tobago mean to you personally?
Tobago means everything to me. Tobago is my home. It's where I've grown up. It's where I reside. It's where I intend to spend the rest of my days. And it's imperative that we protect Tobago, protect our identity, protect our culture, while also, as you said, advancing in an age where technology is ruling. But we have to keep our Tobago base, our Tobago-ness, because it's very important. Because if you don't know where you came from, then you definitely don't know where you're going.
Well,
excellent.
Well, Mr. George, thankfully for you, we do have a bit more time to ask you about 2 or 3 more questions, but we have to take a quick break. So viewers, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. The conversation is not done just yet.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Myself and my co-host, Mr. Luke James Trim, we are still here this morning, and we are still asking the questions that you want asked to Assemblyman Niall George. Now, last week we saw some activities that we might deem to be unprecedented happening in the House. We saw where the presiding officer asked one of the assemblymen to leave the chambers. Now, as Assistant Secretary and Deputy Presiding Officer, can you give us your take on the situation, and do you feel like it was dealt with in the best way possible, especially according to the existing standing orders?
Indeed, I believe that they were dealt with in the best way. I find it, I found Mr. Duke to be very disrespectful. He kept on saying that he's an elected member of the House, and so is Assistant Secretary Baines, who was presenting at the time. And for Mr. Duke to be disturbing Assistant Secretary Baines in his presentation, the presiding officer spoke to Mr. Duke, and then he started referring to the chamber as a Mickey Mouse house. And he went even further to be referring to the presiding officer as Minnie Mouse. And I am saying that Mr. Duke, who claims that he's a representative, an elected representative, has youngsters looking at this. You know, we have youth parliament where youngsters are looking to emulate us. Is that the behavior that he wants them to emulate? Is that what he was elected to do? We have to sit, and we often sit and listen to Mr. Duke, whether we like his presentation or not. There are other presentations that you listen to, whether you like those presentations or not. And Mr. Duke is hardly even ever in the assembly halls. He hardly stays throughout a sitting. He would come, he would contribute, and he would leave, showing scant disregard to everyone's else contribution as far as I'm concerned. And as soon as you don't get something your way, that is the eruption that takes place in the chamber. The presiding officer asked him to leave not because she wanted to silence him, but because he was not being respectful to the person that was presenting. And when the presiding officer is on her feet, you are supposed to be quiet and give way. And Mr. Duke did not relent, so he had to be asked to leave.
And Mr. George, the unfortunate thing about that situation is that when you look from a regional perspective, even internationally, when people see our behaviors in parliament and legislators, it gives them an indication of that is who we are. You know, recently we would have seen what happened in the Bahamas when they had to throw out a member, escort him out. We see the behaviors of St. Vincent and Grenadines, Mr. Ralph Gonzalez. And for someone who doesn't know Tobago culture, when they view that clip, they will think this is how Tobagoans operate. But on a positive note, shifting gears to go around that conversation, we need to get young people involved in our civic duty. And as Deputy Presiding Officer, I'm glad that you are here so you can ask the question. If you can tell us, what can we expect to see to get young people involved in the conversations that really matter to the governance of the island of Tobago? Because yes, we understand that your administration has been vehemently pushing the conversation about Tobago's autonomy, but to keep it fresh and to keep it going, we need young people to be a part of that conversation. What can we see rolling out from the legislature very soon to bridge that gap between the youth and the conversation of constitutional reform?
So, unfortunately, I can't answer that question as yet, because I've not met with the presiding officer in terms of the rollout for the year. And as the deputy presiding officer, I am not as heavily involved in the legislature, because remember, the legislature is also supposed to be independent, and I would focus more on what got me here, which is my district and my division. It's not that I don't focus, but that is the least of my focuses, because there's a full-time presiding officer, which is Mr. Abby Taylor. So it's not that I would meet with her periodically for us to discuss these things in terms of the plans going forward, but I have not met with her on the aspect as well.
So, Mr. Duke would have raised that there were some areas of the standing orders that this administration has not been executing, and one of that has to do with the Public Accounts Committee. Do you think moving forward we would see the implementation and the effective functioning of that committee? And can you advise us on why some of the areas that he raised that are not functioning in its current state?
So there are a number of committees. I am not a member of the Public Accounts Committee. I'm a member of the House Committee. And there are persons responsible for leading these meetings, and there are members that are part of these committees. I cannot speak to the Public Accounts Committee.
I believe that one is led by the minority leader.
Yes,
and
one
he
is
would
led
have
by the
indicated
House.
that he has tried on several occasions to have those meetings, and that went unsuccessful.
Well, Chanel, I really cannot answer what I wasn't even aware until I saw it on the order paper. So that would have to be dealt with the leader of that committee and the presiding officer. So we are members of the House Committee, which is led by the leader of Assembly Business. So that and again, as with Mr. Duke's situation, if he sees there's a problem with anything that is being done by the presiding officer, I heard you say this administration, the presiding officer.
Yes.
All right. And he has to go through the proper channels. There are channels for every single thing within the legislature. And if you noticed, when I went onto the chair, the minority leader started to argue or tended to argue with me about something that I ruled on. And I said to him very clearly, while I sit in the chair, that is my ruling. And there are channels to deal with every single thing. It can't be shouting the house is Mickey Mouse house and calling the presiding officer Minnie Mouse and no, that's childish behavior in my opinion, and it's not befitting of the house. And in my opinion, again, the presiding officer was very correct to ask him to come up, to get out of the house and be escorted.
So do you think that some of the things that were raised in the last sitting should have been dealt with differently as opposed to bringing it before the House in the form that it was brought? For instance, as you indicated, do you think that these are things that they should have written to the presiding officer about and have those meetings and make those adjustments and ensure that all committees are functioning well as opposed to bringing it to the House?
Well, I don't know the reason the minority leader brought it to the House. To my knowledge, I am not aware of any letters being written, and I think that would be the right process to deal with it internally before bringing it to the House. But again, we're in politics. At the end of the day, it's politics, and politics sometimes is heavy perception. So, sometimes it's not even about whether you did it or not, and it's about the perception in the public eye. So it could be a political tactic. It could be that he really tried all of the avenues. So I'm just saying that I can't know the reasons for the minority doing what they do.
All right, Mr. George, so it was a very interesting conversation today. Thank you for the extra 15 minutes. And thank you again for agreeing to sit down in the hot seat. Chanel, we are continuing the conversations this week. And then by Friday, we're going to wrap things up with the Chief Secretary. Still no word on Megan Morrison. So I think we can confirm by now she will not be participating in this conversation for whatever reason. So viewers, I want to thank you all for tuning in this morning. It's always great to have you all here. Chanel?
I believe that tomorrow we do have a Secretary for Tourism, Tashia Grace Barris.
Lovely.
So all those questions that were not under your purview, we would have the opportunity to ask her tomorrow.
Lovely. All right, viewers. So thank you for tuning in this morning. Thank you for choosing Tobago Updates. Thank you for believing in the vision and the impact we have on this island of Tobago. Just be safe this week. Be careful on the roads. And most importantly, remember to share the live, share the live, share the live.
People